and more authentically with your audience. I am La-Vonne. I'm a creative individual who believes that our lives should reflect the absolute expansiveness of our souls. Absolutely. So there's no limit. Limitless living is what I think. And the way we get into limitless living. Hi, Kazuke. Nice to meet you. If you're ready to hear what I have to share today, please put in the word ready in the comment box. But we're talking today about how to use your life story. So I want to start from somewhere in a small town called Mandeville, Jamaica, where on the 24th of August, 1989 or 1999, if you're a booking agent, wink, wink, a young child was born. Her name meant beloved, and she really truly felt that for most of her life. But as she went into school, she was often bullied and teased and really felt as though she didn't quite belong. She'd come home day after day looking into the mirror with tears streaming down her eyes, asking the reflection, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me?" That girl was me some 30 odd years ago, where I really had a challenging time finding my way in the world, finding my sense of belonging and abundance. And flash forward to some time now where I can honestly say that I feel absolutely secure in who I am, even on the insecurities. And that's something I want to share how I've come about that. Now, this week I've been talking about public speaking, and you might be asking, well, Cherise, who are you to tell me about public speaking? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about who I am. As I mentioned before, I am a creative individual who believes that our soul expansiveness should be reflected in our life, in our lifestyle. I studied architecture. I have a degree in architecture. I also have a master's degree in object design. But beyond all of that, I use my design skills to create a life that is absolutely serving myself and absolutely comforting to my soul. And so I help other creatives to do that through coaching, through retreats, and through live series like this one here today. If you are interested in knowing more about my speech writing course or challenge that's coming up in April, DM me the word stage and I'll send you the information to book a call with me so we can talk more about it and I can let you know. It's a no commitment call, but DM me the word stage if you're interested to know about that speech writing challenge, which is exactly why we're here today. We're here today because I want to get you, a creative person who has a conference coming up or some other gathering. I want you to get from a blank page to a 15-minute speech. And in 21 days or less, you're going to be able to write a captivating keynote address that it's going to connect with the heart of your audience, no matter who they are or where you are or who you are. So if you are a creative person or a community leader who has a speech to give coming up, you're going to want to look at what I have in that challenge. So DM me the word stage and I'll tell you all about the masterclass. Sorry, I have a 15-minute daily timer on my social media so that I don't overindulge, and it just paused on my phone, but we're back. So if you're interested in knowing about the masterclasses and the one-on-one coaching and also the writing power hours that we're going to have for 21 days straight to get you from a blank page to a 15-minute speech, DM me, send me a message with the word stage, and I'll send you the link to book a call to talk about that. Okay, let's get into what we are talking about today. So if you are ready, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, if you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on Instagram, or you're watching a replay later on that's on my website, I want you to type in the comment section, ready. If you're ready, let me know that you're ready. Also, let me know open heart, open mind, open heart. Let's type that in as well, because I want you to really allow yourself to open up to what it is that I am here to share with you, and also to really receive that value. I really hope that that dog is not too loud. I think it's extremely loud. I'm going to close this window. Give me a sec. There goes some of my light, but I think we should have some better sound now. Excellent. All right, so today we're going to talk about how turning your life story into a speech is possible. And there are 3 steps that I want you to do. First of all, you're going to want to acknowledge or decide on a story arc. Thank you, Kadzi, for letting me know. Hi, Fee. Nice to see you here. If you're ready to receive what I have to share, please type in ready or open heart, open mind. So I know you're here. Amazing. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to define a story arc. That's step number 1. Then you're going to want to start plotting out parts of your story, your personal story, onto that story arc. So you're going to want to plot it out. And then after that, you're going to develop the plot and actually fill it in using some of the techniques that you will learn if you join me in the speech writing challenge or if you get coaching with me otherwise. Okay. So the 3 steps are story arc, plot, and then expand. So let's start with point number 1, story arc. A lot of times we have the idea to impart something motivational to others because we know what we've been through. We know the challenges we've gone through. We know how we've overcome. We know how sometimes we still struggle. And that's something that we want to be able to share with other people. And oftentimes that heart intention is so big that we just go out there and we share. And that's absolutely amazing. My favorite clients are the ones who come to me with an intention that's like, look, I have a really important message to share. I know my soul mission, which we talked about 2 days ago. So you can go look at that video. I know my soul mission and I'm ready to share it to the world. And I have been sharing it. But I want to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that it's actually captivating people. And what can often happen when we're overly excited about doing something, what happens? We blabber, we go on forever. We don't really have any structure, right? So the first step, story arc, is really creating the structure. And you're going to choose one of 7 possible structures that at least I share in a speech writing challenge that you can use for your story, okay? Today I'm going to use the example of just one, but I will mention what those structures are right now. So the different structures that you can use if you are writing your story, you can use the structure of overcoming the monster, which is basically positioning a big challenge or a big opposing force in your life and then talking about how you overcame that. You can talk about the quest, or also known as the hero's journey, and it's kind of similar to voyage and return. So the hero's journey is kind of going out into the world, looking for something, understanding more because of this big voyage. You can also use comedy structures. You can use a tragedy structure. You can talk about death and rebirth. You can talk about voyage and return. But one of the ones that is very, very popular, which maybe you know of, is the rags to riches format. Okay, so the rags to riches format is the format that I'm going to talk a little bit more about today. And the rags to riches format is one that's really popular because we all know that the storyline of someone who grew up without a lot of resources, kind of getting into trouble and having a hard time, meeting an inspiring personality who helped to change the course of their life, working with consistency and seeing the fruits of their reward, dealing with more challenges that came because of their growth that they never would have had before, and then overcoming, or just wherever they are now. That storyline, those are the different steps in the rags to riches storyline. That storyline is one that's very, very popular, and we see in many movies and that kind of stuff. No, the rags to riches storyline doesn't always have to be specifically about growing up in poverty and becoming rich. We can also use it a little bit more metaphorically as well. So depending on your true life story, whether it is that you were, in a unfortunate circumstance and now you're in a more fortunate circumstance, or maybe you are still in an unfortunate circumstance, or maybe you grew up fortunate and you're still fortunate, or maybe you grew up fortunate and you're less fortunate. It's not so much about the money or the fortune as much as it is about the concepts of moving from a place of less well-being to more well-being. Okay, and so one of the ways that I like to use this story format to talk about my own life is to talk about the ways that I was poor in my self-confidence, right? Which is what I did in the story that I used to open this live. I was poor in my self-confidence. I was poor in my understanding of myself. And then through a series of events, I got to a place where I could call myself rich in how much I valued myself and loved myself. So we can get very creative. And when I work in sessions one-on-one with clients, we can get very creative with how we take your specific story and move it to the rags to riches story. I have a client who is a professional boxer, and his story is absolutely inspirational. But I brought the rags to riches format to him, and he actually told me, I don't want it to be about money. I don't want my story to be about money. For me, money is not really the point. I really want it to be more about, my growth and building a family and developing as a man. And we were still able to use that storyline, talking about him as a younger person getting in trouble. So being poor in discipline, being poor in a sense of direction, being poor in even having fatherly guidance, and then the processes that he had in his life where, his boxing career actually took him to meeting Muhammad Ali and him winning Olympic medals, and that kind of stuff came about less about money, not having money to having money, but more about not having the character necessary to having the character necessary to live a better life, right? So that was step number one. The first thing you want to do if you want to use your life story to create a captivating speech is you're going to want to define the structure of the story using one of the many successful formats. And like I told you, the rags to riches is just one. We also have the hero's journey, which is a universal storyline. And in the hero's journey, what we talk about is starting. So I gave you one example, and I was just going to give you one, but I feel like I want to give you two. I feel like I want to give you another example. And I hope you have your pens and paper out. I hope you're taking notes. Type in pens and paper if you are, because this is really valuable information. And this information is just going to be up on my social media page for about a week, and then I'm going to move it onto my website. So please make sure that you get the notes down. Okay? And of course, reminding you, if you're interested in my 21-day, great fee, I'm happy that you're writing notes. If you're interested in my 21-day speech writing challenge, just DM me the word stage, and I'll send you the link to set up a call with me so that we can get you on board. So the second storyline format that I want to talk about that can be helpful in transforming your life story into a speech is the hero's journey, or the universal storyline. And the hero's journey is one of the most popular and widely used plot structures that we have out there. And it goes something like, you live in the ordinary world, then you feel this call to adventure in your life. You refuse the call, you push it back, then you meet a mentor, then you're crossing this threshold, then there's tests and there's allies and enemies. And from running from these test allies and enemies, you come into approaching your innermost cave. So approaching just like what's most within, you deal with that. Then there's a reward, and there's a road back to where you came from. There's a sense of resurrection, and you're actually returning with an elixir, right? So this is the storyline of the hero's journey. One is ordinary world. Two, then you're called to adventure. So in my case, ordinary world was, I grew up in Mandeville, Jamaica, which is a town of 50,000 people, okay? Two, my call to adventure is, I always was someone who wanted to be on stage, who stood out, who always wanted to perform. In fact, I wanted to study dance as my college degree, but I didn't do that. So that's the refusal of the call, right? Kind of not even really seeing myself as an artist. In fact, I decided that I was going to study design because it felt like something to do that was related to art, but was still serious enough. Actually, architecture is what I studied, right? So it was still serious enough. It was related to art, but it fit into the real world because I didn't really want to be a hippy-dippy artist. I just wanted to kind of fit in. So that was the refusal of the call. The fourth step in the hero's journey is meeting your mentor. And I've met many mentors, but I would say one mentor that I met maybe 3 years ago. Her name is Kelly, and she looked at me and she said, Sharice, you're an artist. And I said, I mean, I know I do art, and I know I write poems, and I know I'm a dancer, and I know I sing, but can I really call myself an artist? So that was the fourth step, meeting this mentor who starts to help you to really identify the call that's on your life. The fifth one is crossing the threshold. Okay, I know I'm going pretty fast. It's a lot of information, but I also share this information in the Story to Stage challenge. That's a speech writing challenge I have coming up. So if you want more information on that, just DM me the word stage and I'll send you. Fee. Yes, I did refuse fee, but no, I know. No, I understand, as I am and have always been an artist. And I love that. And then there's crossing the threshold, right? The fifth one is crossing the threshold. So that's when you start to actually see who you are and allow yourself to go into the depths of who you are. At least I did. And that happened for me when I moved to Mexico. I chose to come to Mexico on a soul sabbatical that was supposed to be 6 months. And I've been in Mexico for 2.5 years. But Mexico gave me the opportunity to cross the threshold into kind of seeing myself and kind of just going through, because there are quite a few more steps. There's an ordeal of having to deal with myself. So that's the sixth step I'm going to give, the ordeal of having to deal with that refusal of the call, of having to deal with who you are. And then the seventh step is the road back, where I start to now see myself as all that I am, all of the skills that I got from studying architecture, but all of the whims that I have from the spiritual, more hippy-dippy artist that I am. And resurrection is me coming back, for example, on social media when I had gone dormant for a couple of years because I needed to be doing all of that inner work. I'm resurrecting now myself, and I'm returning with an elixir, which is my current understanding of how to combine your practical world with your spiritual world so that your practical world reflects the expansiveness of your spiritual world, right? So that is, in a nutshell, the hero's journey, the universal storyline. And that's step number one in using your life story to create a captivating speech. You're going to want to create that kind of idea. Step number two is you're going to want to decide on a particular plot line. So basically, based on that structure, you're going to be using that structure to plot out different parts of your life according to whatever structure you chose for your storyline. And you're going to want to plot that out. But apart from plotting it out, you're going to also want to have a particular perspective with which you're coming from. Because, for example, we have experienced many things in our lives, right? I can talk about my journey as an artist. I could talk about my journey in spirituality. I could talk about my journey as a woman. I could talk about my journey as a fitness model. I could talk about my journey with mental health. I could talk about many, many things. But in the second process of how you move your life story to a captivating speech is you're going to want to decide on your plot and your perspective. And your perspective is going to be informed by your soul mission. Now, if you don't know what your soul mission is or how it applies to the speeches that you write, I want you to go back and check my video from 2 days ago, Friday, I believe, Thursday. 2 days ago was Thursday. Because in that video, I talk about what your soul mission is and how it helps you to actually create your speech, right? So you're going to want to decide on that particular perspective. Now, my soul mission, which I spoke about 2 days ago, my soul mission is spreading joy. My soul mission is spreading joy by reconnecting people with their creativity, allowing people to go reconnect with their own selves, with their own creativity, so that they feel more joy. And so more than likely, the storyline that I'm going to bring about, which I did show in my example earlier, is going to talk about that journey of going within and creating more joy in your life. Right? And so that's going to be the second thing. I'm going to be writing from that perspective, and then I'm going to plot out all of my points so that they follow that perspective. And the third thing that you're going to need to do is now you're going to need to develop each and every point. You're going to need to decide which points are irrelevant, because you may plot it out and you may write about I don't know, your 6th birthday when an ant bit you on your toe, and you might think that that's very relevant to the story, but perhaps it could be left out, right? So you're now gonna have to, in the 3rd point, you're gonna have to sift through and decide on what to keep and what not to keep. Before I go more into the 3rd point, I want to just remind you again why we're here. So I'm doing this story, this Speak from the Soul series, which is a series of free trainings here on my Instagram page on @space-to-reflect, or on my personal Facebook page where I'm La-Vonne. And I'm doing this series because I want to share with you, a creative person who has an upcoming speech, some of the ways that you can go about creating a captivating speech. If you find this information helpful and you actually want a more focused environment to write your next speech, then I also invite you to send me a message with the word stage. Send me a message with the word stage today, and I will send you some information or a link to know more about my 21-day story to stage challenge, which is a 21-day program of developing your life story into a 15-minute keynote address. Okay, and it's gonna be beautiful. You're gonna really get to the core of who you are. You're gonna do the practical stuff to write that speech, and then you're also gonna practice actually expressing that speech, because we will have a showcase at the end of the challenge where you do have to actually present. So it's not that you're gonna write this speech and then put it down to the side. It's you're gonna write this speech for it to be presented. Okay, so that's the 21-day story to stage challenge that I have coming up. And if you want to know more about that, just send me a message with the word stage, and I'll send you a link to sign up for a call. All right, so we're moving into the 3rd step of how to use your life story to create a captivating speech. And we spoke about, first of all, defining the structure or the story outline. Then we spoke about, I'm so glad that it's time, Liffy. You know, everything always in divine order, everything. Then we spoke about the how to plot your perspective onto those points, onto that story outline. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about how you develop each plot point. Now, as I was saying before, one of the things you want to do is make sure that you skim through and decide what are actually the key turning points in your life as it relates to the plot points that you had before. And then based on those key turning points, what do you need to explain to give the audience context, and what can be taken out, right? So what do I need to explain? What don't I need to explain? And then thirdly, how can I connect what I just explained to the person that I'm talking to? So one of the things that we want to avoid is 2 things. It's so interesting because when we're speaking, it's very necessary for us to be careful about how we're talking. I like to discourage my clients from using the terms you should. You should do this, you should do that, you should whatever. Because as humans, there is something about our autonomy that gets challenged when someone tells us what to do, that can tend to shut our brains off and we don't quite hear everything. So instead of using the languaging of you should, you want to use the language of want, like you want to, because that's talking to a person's desire. The word want talks to desire more than should, which talks to like demanding. You don't want to demand, you want to allow them to desire the information you're giving them. So you want to say, you want to, right? In the way that you speak about you. But more than that, you also want to be careful about how you use the I. A lot of times when we're creating stories or speeches, it can just be all about I. So I did this and I learned this and I went to this and I had this and this happened, and it's just when you create it so much I, you also now separate from the audience. So you don't want to be invading the audience's boundaries by saying you should, but you also don't want to be separating too much by only talking about yourself and your perspective and your kind of thing. So what do you want to do? You want to find that bridge. You want to find a language that is a bridge between here's what happened in my life, here's what I took from it, and here's what I'm offering to you for consideration. right? And do you see how that creates more of a connection than here's what happened in my life and here's what I learned, or you need to do this because this is how it's done. More than the totally egoistic or the totally knocking down boundaries, what you want to do is invite a connection. You want to get the participation of your audience. You want to get their consent. You want to get their consent to actually come into what you're sharing. And so you're going to want to be careful with the language. Okay, so that was the third point, is how you actually develop the story. Once you've done step number 1, which is defining the storyline arc. Step number 2, which is plotting your perspective onto that arc. And then step number 3 is developing the plot lines. And within step number 3, I spoke about choosing what information you need to keep, choosing what information you shouldn't keep, and then choosing the type of language that you will use to speak to your audience so that you are inviting them into a connection. You know what? This has been a very, very quick session, a quick training, but that is what I have to share with you today. And I want to, if you stick around just a few more minutes, I want to let you know what I have coming up, how you can work with me if you want to work with me. So I'm Cherise La-Vonne. I'm a creative individual. I'm trained as an architect. I have a master's degree in design, but I also work as a poet. I work as a speaker. You are so welcome, Fee. It's been awesome to have you. I work as a public speaking coach. I sing. I'm a creative individual. And I don't limit my creativity because I believe that our lives should reflect the absolute expansiveness of our souls. And that's what I do through Soul Mirror, my wellness company for creators. So Soul Mirror is putting on a story to stage speech writing challenge for creators who are invited to a conference or a gathering or an interview in the next 3 to 6 months, and you need help in developing a keynote address of 1, 5, or 15 minutes for your audience. We're going to cover all of that in the Story to Stage Speech Writing Challenge. Man, that's a mouthful, Story to Stage Speech Writing Challenge. We do tongue twisters in the challenge as well. So if you want more information about that, please send me a message with the word stage and I will let you know when we can book a call. I am only accepting call requests up until next week, Thursday. So next week, Thursday is going to be the 20-something. I can't see my calendar. Boop, boop, boop. Today's the 18th, so it's going to be the 20-something. The 20-something of May. I'll let you know soon, and I'll put some announcements on my page as well that I'll be taking calls up until next week, Thursday. If you're interested, send me a message with the word stage so I can let you know about that challenge. This week so far, we have done 3 masterclasses or 3 trainings here on my Instagram page. The first one, which you might want to go and check out before it comes down next week, is why you should define your soul mission before you write your next speech. The second one was what is the rapid response technique that public speakers use every time to sound smart on panel discussions, in interviews, or question and answers. And I give you the technique that I used to win the Miss Jamaica Festival Queen competition in 2015. So I'm letting you know that it is a technique that works. Okay, it works. And then the one that we just finished today is how to use your life story to create a captivating speech. I have been thinking that I might do 2 more free trainings on Monday and Tuesday, or Monday, Tuesday of next week. If you're interested in 2 more bonus trainings, please let me know. Just type in bonus in the chat, whether you're watching live or you're watching later, so I'll let you know about that. And please send me a DM with the word stage right now, and I'll let you know more about the 21-day speech writing challenge. No commitment, but just sharing the information so you can have it. And maybe if you don't join us this time, you'll know if you're interested to join next time. I'm Cherise La-Vonne, and this has been part of the Speak from the Soul series, where I am helping you, a creative who has been invited to a conference, to create your speech and to feel confident communicating who you are and the work that you do once you are there. I will see you here sometime next week. If you're interested in seeing me again next week, let me see bonus. Fee says bonus. So, okay, well, I'll let you know for the weekend when those bonuses will be. Hi, Coach Caprice. Nice to see you. We're just closing out. Hi, Dim Beats. Nice to see you. This has been the story to the Speak from the Soul series of trainings. You can go back and check from the last 2 days, the ones that I've had, helping creatives who have a speech coming up at a conference or at an event or some other gathering to create a speech. I actually have a challenge that's coming up that is going to be focused for 21 days on creating a 15-minute keynote address, and it's especially designed for creative individuals, for entrepreneurs, for creators. So if you're interested in that challenge, please send me a DM with the word stage. I will see you next time. I think I see a question. Corrector. So someone is asking what's corrector. I'm not sure. Can you give me a little bit more? Fee, can you tell me more what you're asking about? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by what's corrector. Maybe it was something I was talking about earlier, but I forgot. Are you still here, Fee? If you're still here, you can let me know. I guess not. All right. Well, that's it. I will see you again next week because you've asked for a bonus. So look out for my email or my posts. Something along the lines of corrector behavior of the boxer. I don't know. Maybe I was talking about... No, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember exactly what I was talking about in that context. Sorry about that, Fee. Not sure what I was saying then. But if I remember, I'll reach out and let you know. So I'll see you next week. Look out for my email. If you're not on my email list, go to my link in bio and sign up to be on my email list so you'll know about what free trainings are happening next week. Have a great day. Bye. It's been really awesome to share space with you. Bye 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 bye.